Hello again, everyone. I'm Dr. George Simon, and welcome to another edition of Character Matters, the program where we talk about what I consider to be the defining issue of our time, the character crisis that has been worsening for several decades now, and that affects every aspect of our lives, especially our most important relationships. We human beings do not come by character naturally. But various things in our cultural milieu for the last several decades have helped the problem worsen so that harmonious relationships are much harder to come by. And all manner of behavior once regarded as rare, unusual, outrageous, unthinkable occurs with alarming frequency. And we become so used to it, it's become so normalized that for the most part, we give it a pass as business as usual until it affects us directly and in a very tragic way. Today, I want to talk about an aspect of narcissism that is often misunderstood still, even by the most well meaning professionals. And that has to do with the inflated sense of self that narcissists have. The traditional thinking has long been that underlying the braggadociousness, the grandiosity, the pumped up claims and touted abilities of narcissists, underlying that traditionally is thought has been a lot of insecurity and actually impaired self esteem, causing the person to unconsciously want to build themselves up. And while this can be true and is true of a certain type of narcissism, a type that I write about extensively on my blog at drgeorgesimon.com and in all of my books, a type of narcissism that I call the more neurotic type, and that researchers have more commonly and recently called the more vulnerable or compensatory type. While this type can exist more often in our day and time, the problem is just the reverse. It's the fact that so many indulged, pampered, entitled, made to feel special, lauded for their abilities, and under-recognized for any meaningful achievements, individuals grow up with a distorted sense of their self-worth, thinking they're special, that they're all that, and that they're entitled, therefore, to do things that others wouldn't think of doing. And in the process, individuals who chronically overestimate both their worth and their capabilities have trouble forging a healthy, balanced sense of self. They also have trouble developing something I talk about extensively in all my work, and that is self-respect. Self-esteem, as the research is now supporting, and as I have mentioned many times in all my writings, has much more to do with what we know intuitively that we have going for us in the way of our abilities and talents, gifts, if you will. And self-respect has much more to do with what we do with what we have been given, how conscientiously we both regard our gifts and we use them, not only to our own advantage, but for the benefit of all. So individuals with a pumped up sense of self, a bent out of shape ego, can easily have a whole lot of self-esteem while meriting very little self-respect. And this is just one of the many things that helps confuse even the most well-intended professionals when trying to work with either character-impaired individuals or their relationship partners. Our sense of self is crucial to character, and it can get bent out of shape in so many ways. These days, it is dangerous to hang on to old notions that all individuals who act in a pompous way are unconsciously insecure and compensating for something. For individuals with an inflated sense of self, many times they actually have something to show for themselves, but they can't help but exaggerate anyway. They may indeed be smart, but they'll still claim that they are smarter than they are. They may indeed know some things, but they will claim much more knowledge than they actually have. They may have indeed accomplished some things, but they will claim that they have done much more than the record will actually show. And sometimes, when reality crashes in and exposes the truth, and the pretense is stripped away, you see the lack of legitimate self-worth that these individuals have been able to develop. And that's what misleads a lot of well-meaning folks to assume that, you see, after all, underneath it all, they really had low opinions of themselves. So it's important to remember that while in early development, it is possible that individuals who have chronically felt inferior and incapable and have developed low self-esteem can learn compensatory strategies and falsely act all that unwittingly and unconsciously, although that's possible. The opposite is true too. Individuals who have come to a high sense of entitlement as a result of being coddled, overly praised, indulged, overvalued, have a hard time developing a legitimate sense of self-worth, and they also have a hard time committing themselves to the kinds of pro-social conduct that merit legitimate self-respect. I hope you'll keep that in mind, and I hope that you'll avail yourself of my work, both on the blog at drgeorgesimon.com, the many timely articles, hundreds of them, with all the information that you might need to navigate this character-disturbed world of ours, and my books, all of which are available readily on Amazon and in multiple formats. In Sheep's Clothing, Character Disturbance, The Judas Syndrome, How Did We End Up Here, and my latest offering, Essentials for the Journey, Embracing and Living the 10 Commandments of Character, Proven Principles for a Psychologically Healthy and Spiritually Rich Life. Until next time, thanks for tuning in. I'm Dr. George Simon. Take care.